you so much for coming to speak with me. If you would kindly just give a quick intro, tell us who you are.
Well, my name is Harley Wallen. I am born and raised in Sweden. I had the misfortune of being on a show as a background dancer, and I got a line and fell in love with acting. Eventually moved here to the States to be an actor, and about 10 years ago, I just felt like I wanted to tell the story a little bit more. So I jumped into directing. I saw less and less of the kind of movies that I love. So that's what I'm trying to do is put some more of those on the map.
You're so you started off dancing are you trained in dancing too, or did you just say, I'm gonna dance one day?
I was a really good break dancer when I was a kid and a teenager, and I ended up getting that show. It was like a cabaret show, so that was how I ended up on that show. And then the throwaway lines they gave to any of us people that were doing other background type of work like dancing, and I just started hanging out with the actors, and I realized the whole process of acting was way more than I thought it was, and I thought it was so cool.
That is really cool. Wow, what a story. So, okay, let's talk about movies first and
Yeah.
foremost, but in particular, horror movies. So, do you remember the first horror movie you ever saw?
I snuck out behind my parents and watched Kingdom of the Spiders, which is kind of funny. But yeah, so it's a old movie about a town that gets pretty much infested with tarantulas everywhere, coming in and killing everybody. So that was the very first, and I was too young to even really know, I think, what was going on. The first movie I watched with intent of watching was probably The Exorcist. And I was changed forever after that. So I knew that I loved horror movies at that point. The thrill of horror is so amazing to me.
Do you still find The Exorcist scary?
I think it's a little trickier to watch with the special effects. So I try not to touch a lot of those. It's funny enough, I can watch Hitchcock better, I think, than I can watch some of those 70s, 80s horror because the effects are just not up to par. But The Exorcist probably holds together because it's practical. I
Yeah.
think that one holds together better. And also, it's very well acted, which is not always the case with horror. And I'm a big acting fan, so it helps me a lot.
All right. So, what is it about horror that keeps you coming back to it?
I think it's fun to be thrilled and scared and I'm a big fan of the horror movies that actually if you watch it as a couple and it brings you a little closer together, that's my favorite horror. I don't love this new thing where everything is disgusting and makes you sick to your stomach, and it's just like there's nothing to the story. I don't care about anyone. It's just kill count, and it's like
Yeah,
I'm sure it
yeah,
has its place. It's just not for me.
yeah.
So for me, I like the thrills. I like the I don't know, I especially love supernatural movies, I think. Ash and Bone, which is one of my films, is the one that breaks away from that. And I've always had a soft spot for those backyards, crazy folks, The Hills Have Eyes type of films, and so that's my soft spot for that. But I kind of wanted to give it a new spin.
So, quick question. We have a lot of those kinds of backwoods hillbilly,
Mm.
murder family
Yeah,
tropes in America. Do you have the
yeah.
same in Sweden?
Not as much. I mean, Midsummer, I is probably the closest thing that you've seen with that type of storytelling. I think Sweden, you're talking about Bergman and that style of filmmaking. So we didn't venture into horror until very late. And when they went for horror, if you watch Swedish films, they're pretty brutal, to be honest with you.
Yes.
Yeah,
A
it's like
lot
Korean
of your
horror.
yes, yes. I was gonna say a lot of European ones are like you wouldn't expect how, how crazy
Yeah.
they are.
Yes. Yes.
So, okay, Ash and Bone. We'll talk about that now.
Yeah.
Can you give me a quick rundown of what the storyline is? A sentence or two,
Yeah.
very quick.
So essentially, it's about a couple that has a rebellious teen daughter, and it's not your standard couple. It's an older husband with a younger wife. There's the wife passed from cancer, and I think the husband kind of moved on quickly. The daughter is rebelling. She's getting into all kinds of trouble. She's doing the urban exploring, and the father, which I play, essentially says, I'm going to see if I can get her head straight. I'm going to take her up north and go to the Upper Peninsula in Michigan. And we're going to spend the summer where I spent my summer and see if I can't reset her. And when we get up there, we stumble across the McKinleys, and they're not pleasant people.
That's a good way of putting it. They are not pleasant people at all. They are
No.
not people that I would want to that I would ever want to run
Run
into.
into, yeah.
So Ash and Bone brings in elements of yeah, of urban legends. You have
Mhm.
the backwoods
Yeah.
family, you have a little bit of revenge. What
Mhm.
inspired this story?
I think I want it because every time I watch one of those stories, it's always centered around the villain. And I don't like that we glorify the violence and glorify the things. So I wanted to set the family at the forefront and have them deal with it. And I wanted to make three characters there that you don't really love because they're all flawed. So I wanted you to have at odds with them, a tug of war with them, because the teen is such a goth and she's just so abrasive and just not cool, and the dad is just a folding chair who just keeps giving in but tries to take these stance, and half of the stance I don't know if he believes in himself, and then a stepmom who's just really clumsy at how to engage with the daughter and doesn't really know how to deal with this. So it sets up for this perfect thing where they can finally unite against something, and that's the threat.
I like how you made the characters not perfect in
Yeah.
any way because that's how it is in real life, you know? A lot of times in movies, there's a very clear, okay, we're supposed to like these people, we're not supposed to like
Yes.
these people. But
Yes.
in Ash and Bone, it's like, I don't know who I want to side with right
Yes.
now. Especially because I am a mom to a
Mhm.
4-year-old, so we're
Mhm.
not quite there yet.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I am a mom, so I understand the parent perspective, but also
Mhm.
like I'm not that old. I was a
Yeah.
teenager not so long ago, so I
Yeah.
totally understand Cassie here. So
Yeah.
I really like how you developed all those characters.
Thank you.
Um, but we're gonna talk about the McKinley family now.
Yes.
So they are quite scary.
Yes.
And like I said,
They are.
not people I would ever want to meet.
No.
How did you get the idea to shape them as they are now? How what came into your mind and said, okay, they're gonna, you know, they're gonna do these kinds of things and this is how they catch their prey and
Yeah.
how did that all work out?
So it was really interesting because when I worked with Brett Miller, who wrote it, I wanted an abrasive, inbred, like just awful people. Uh, but I wanted them to have something about them that kind of makes them human still. So I just wanted their reasoning to be make sense to them. It's kind of like when you watch a mobster movie, you look at their code and you go, whoa, that's crazy. That's not at all how I am. That sounds nuts. I wanted the McKinleys to have their own code, and not to plot spoil it, but they have a cousin who we later find out, is one of them. And you can just hear when they have their conversation that their way of living is not like our way of living. And I think it's really important. I love watching like, videos from people that live in the rainforest that just decided one day they're going to go do that. And I watch their shows, and it's so fascinating to me to watch these things because people are so different. And I think it's kind of cool to look behind the veil and to see these things. So we creep into the McKinleys. I don't know if you noticed in the storytelling, you see very little of them early on, and then a little more and a little more and a little more because we're creeping in on them. We're always like when we tried to shoot everything in the beginning, I wanted to be in a different room from them as much as possible, be a little further away so that we only got a taste of them here and there and made them more mythical almost. If you think about the first scene when they're in the house and Cleet walks down and looks around, you don't even see him until very, very late in that sequence, and you barely see him at all. But you get the vibe and the mood of it all, which I'm a big fan of that. But yeah, we they actually came in the first day at the table read doing Southern accents, and I'm like, no, 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 no. They're from the UP in Michigan.
Right.
And they're like, oh, yeah. So we had to kind of reconfigure it all. And we worked on a UP accent. And we just talked about this inbred family that's probably been kind of abrasive for an extended period of time, but it went kind of crazy after the mom and the grandma died, and it was just the two siblings in the house. I think they just they had the rules from the sheriff of what they could and couldn't do, and they lived within those parameters as much as possible until they ran into the Vanderbilts.
I really like how you brought up the accents because this past weekend I was traveling and I was in Wisconsin,
Yeah,
and man, did I get a earful. So
yeah,
not as upper Midwest as the Upper Peninsula, but definitely it's there. And
close. Oh
I
yeah,
have family there, and we were visiting, and it's like, man, I forget how
yeah,
crazy y'all sound up here.
oh yeah, oh yeah. Yeah,
So
no, that's for sure.
yes, yes. So you brought up this whole vibe and mood. The whole atmosphere of Ash and Bone is really like gritty, and a lot of
Mhm.
times I felt like I was outside, like
Yeah,
in the woods.
yeah.
How did you do that? Is there a certain style of filming that you like to use, certain cameras that give us that feeling that we're there with them?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit. I mean, Alex Gasparetto, who was my cinematographer, is just fantastic, and he has a lot of the reason for that. We talked before about how we were going to color it, but also we lived in the wild. We lived like so. Our crew stayed in that cabin, and we had two trailers a little further out from camp. But just so you see how remote this is, when we did the whole cannibal scene where he's eating the meat off the thing, that was pig, I think. My
I
production
think.
manager had it in. I don't remember what they had in, but they had to get rid of it, and we had to go a couple miles off of where we were at to make sure we didn't attract bear. So we were in the wilderness. So the film takes place really, truly in the middle of nowhere, and I think that helps.
Yes, it definitely it comes across that way. So
Yeah,
I could feel it.
yeah.
So you spoke about having to take all the food away from the camp. Was there anything
Mhm.
else that happened while filming that was really difficult, or anything that, you'll a good memory that you'll have from doing this shoot?
Well, the funny thing that I think I realized afterwards, because when you're in there, and between me playing one of the main characters and directing, my plate was so full that a lot of the time, some of the details of the sound, I didn't hear it when it was live. But I remember watching the first cut, and I'm like, I thought somebody did some light sound design, which I don't like when they edit that in early because I want to kind of decide how we're going to do it. But it was real sounds of the coyotes and the bats and the other things, the stuff that you hear, that's real,
Oh,
which
wow.
I was like, oh my God, we were that close to everything. We were that far out into the boons that that was kind of fascinating. Probably one of the most fascinating things. So that was probably what really dawned on me because I was about to give somebody an earful and say, you know
All
how I
right.
feel about this. You know what I mean? I don't want you to try to speak to my mind. You know, I want to do this. And then I'm sitting there going, oh my God, that's the raw footage. I hear the bats and I hear the coyotes. I'm like, wow. Yeah, we were really out there in the middle of nowhere. It is
Yeah.
truly backwoods.
That's a really cool coincidence to have. That's really cool.
Yeah.
So in Ash and Bone, you have obviously a father-daughter dynamic.
Mhm.
Was there anything in particular that you wanted to explore with this father and daughter, or did you just say, yeah, we'll have a dad and a teen girl? You know, it could have been anybody else. It could have been just the dad and stepmom. It could have been a father and son. What was it about having a father and a teenage
I
girl, I
think,
should say?
yeah, I think the family relations in general, I love people and I love it how complicated of a puzzle we are. And I think a lot of the times we just take it for granted because it kind of just happens. But you think about how many pieces you've tried on and how many frogs you kissed to find all those things. Um, if you watch almost all of my films, whatever genre, I like having the family element in there because the family element is so uh, intriguing to me. I mean, I grew up, my dad left before I was one. My stepdad came in and then all kinds of trouble, kind of had a domestic violence and craziness in my house. And then eventually they split up. And so I know how this works. I have three older kids that went through a divorce and it was the whole mom against dad and all that stuff. So I already know how complicated those things are and I love layering the story with real, true life drama, if you're going to be completely honest, because I think that stuff is intriguing. I think that's the stuff we live in every day, and it's easier for me to lose myself in a film where I kind of believe the people are who they say they are.
It's almost as if the real horror isn't so much the cannibal family, but what's happening in your own
In the
family.
family. Yes. I love that because in all honesty, that's usually what I try to do. I have
Yeah.
another movie called Beneath Us All where the vampire takes on the role of the scary thing, but it's really the relationship in the family. So yeah, good eye.
Yeah. So without spoiling too much, let's talk about the ending. Just a little bit. Did you know from the start that that's how you wanted it to end, or did you go through other storylines and finally settle on what happens?
I definitely wanted that ending. Me and Brett talked a lot about it. We had a couple of times that we had the stepmom pass to kind of, but it felt half of a victory, kind of to have that. So we went through a lot of talk around that. So yeah, it was a tricky one to finish because um, yeah, it's it's not a happy ending, but it is a happy ending, right?
Yes, yes. And it did leave quite an impression. So
Yeah.
you chose right.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Do you want to tease any upcoming projects that you're doing? Are you working on anything? Are you taking a break? What's going on?
So I am right now, John Lepper from Safana Ventures, it's a sales agency. He's right now shopping a psychological thriller called Fathers. and it is a wild ride. Essentially, what happens is this girl gets kidnapped by a guy at 10 years of age who then claims to be her real father, and
Oh,
that the guy in her life is not the real guy. And essentially, he's holding, to some degree, her and her mom hostage, and that he was shunned from them. And um, you trail this story to find out what's the truth, and it's a tricky wild ride. When John watched it, he goes, I think I changed my mind 6 or 7 times. So it's the definitely kind of a whodunit that talks about and touches on trauma, PTSD, Stockholm syndrome, and all these type of things. So I'm really excited about that one. We'll see where it lands. um, I'm also in very early pre-production of a true story. I did a film called Finding Nicole that's out right now. That's a true story about domestic violence. And through her, I met another woman that went through. I didn't even know what to say, but the film is called Killing Jenny. Um, and it's a miracle she's alive. And I will probably bridge my thriller fans with my horror fans with this one, because what she went through is insane.
my goodness.
So
I'll
that one
have,
is
yeah.
coming down the pipe. Hopefully, filming it in November, December. I'm trying to add a Christmas theme to this, even though the true story doesn't have that. But I like the juxtaposition of having, beauty and absolute chaos colliding.
Yeah, yeah.
So
I'll have to check those out. You'll have to let me know when they're
yeah.
when they're good to go and I'll watch them.
Yeah, and I should probably say this. Right now, we're shopping the sequel to Ash and Bone too,
Oh, okay.
as we have a great pitch, a phenomenal story about the family going back to the city and living there, kind of getting almost back to normal for a few years, and then some people from the boonies come and knock on the door again.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so I'm glad that you're doing that because I find myself a lot of times wondering what happens after after
Yeah,
a movie. Like, okay, do I just go back to real life? Like, are the
yeah,
police gonna come talk to me? And so, okay, that's very interesting.
yeah,
I will for
yeah.
sure be
And I
looking into
love the
that.
script. It's incredible. Brett literally outdid himself.
Oh, awesome, awesome. So, Harley, what is your best advice for up and coming filmmakers? Because I talk to a lot of indie filmmakers and a lot of
Mhm.
people who are just getting into filmmaking. Do you have any advice for them?
I think one of the things that I have just found in general in life, and it became true even with film, is to be true to yourself. I think so many people they try to put their sails up and look at where the wind is blowing, and I'm sure that's not terrible advice, but I just know that if I'm going to be great at something, I need to do something that I love, because if I love it, I can do a great job with it. So I think that's my big thing is write the movies, direct the movies, edit the movies for you. You're the audience. Make that movie something that you say, I'd watch this, because there are people like you out there, and now it becomes about finding your audience. Because when we first started, I think I started with The Devil's Left Hand, which is essentially a remake, or not a remake, a re-edit of Agramon's Gate. We got a terrible distributor for Agramon's Gate. We took it back, and then we re-edited it to a little tighter running time, and re-released it again. But there was a lot of people kind of fighting with it, because not enough gore, not enough this, not enough that. And it's like, why can't these horror movies also have play? And I remember that line I just said about bringing you closer together. There was a critic that actually said that. He said, it's been a long time since I sat down with a horror movie, and it brought me closer to my wife, and I got lucky at the end of it. but I wasn't grossed out and disgusted and all these type of things. I like horror movies that do that. Will I occasionally watch something like Hostel? Yep. Saw, absolutely. I'll go all in on some of those. But it's probably not what I'll ever make. Will I be bloodier in some than others? Yep, I did Final Recovery. That's just been released, and that was definitely bloodier than what I've done in the past. So uh, to me, I want to let the story dictate. I want to kind of be a fan of the movie. I want to be a fan of the characters. So I think that's my advice: is just be a fan and make it for you, and then it's your job to find the people that like the kind of movies you do.
I read an article a while back that was talking about what you were explaining, going to see films and becoming closer to somebody else. And they said the reasoning for that horror is especially good at this, as opposed to like comedy or
Yeah.
whatever else, is because your heart rate is going so fast. So yes, you're definitely right.
Yeah, it makes sense, right?
Yes.